Real life 40-year-old virgins. What's your story? A coworker is 51. Never had girlfriend nor had sex. Nature has been a jerk to him. He's an uglier version of Danny DeVito, with strabism and none of the acting abilities. A friend of mine is 39 and has never lost it. He's super religious, has had girlfriends, but never got married or anything, so he never has sex. Well, that's as far as I know. Maybe he has, and is ashamed of it. Maybe he's gay, and is in the closet. Maybe he's asexual. I don't know. Normal drinking, playing video games, going to bars, and traveled the world sort of a guy. Decent looking but not great. He's maybe a little out of shape, but I wouldn't call it ugly. Thing is he wants to be married before 6, and also has super, weirdly high standards. Like now that he's his age he still won't settle for anything less than a Kate Upton Fats ultra Christian. My brother got his first girlfriend aged 38. There is hope for everyone. Not 40, but I know one guy who has a macropene, and is physically unable to have sex. Shame too because he's decently good looking and funny, makes out with a lot of girls, is 6'3" etc. Completely normal. Only know he's a virgin due to him admitting JT to me when he was wasted. He's early to mid 30s. Op HMU in 2 decades for answer. I know a 34-year-old who has never even kissed a girl. Crippling social anxiety. Also hung up on a girl from 15 years ago who has never been interested. I saw a pretty tipsy girl come onto him at a bar once, and he almost jumped out of his skin. He was nude having that crap. I have a friend in this situation. She has never been kissed. Even. She is a little bit heavy, but not obese. And she is okay looking. I think it is just confidence. I know someone who was 33. Lots of reasons. Religious/strict upbringing meant no way to interact with the preferred gender until after high school. Overweight in college, which wasn't actually a problem for men finding her attractive, but it killed her own self-confidence, so she never recognized when men hit on her. Hard investment banking career meant working all hours and getting much fatter, so the cycle kept getting worse. Had lots of guys friends, but never recognized anyone hitting on her. Finally got in shape, got confidence, lost virginity at weight she was in college when she thought she was fat. Ironic. I'm 41 years old and had sex only once with a prostitute. I think women find me weird because of autism. I actually work with one who's like 45ish, maybe closing in on 50. Has a strange guy, works too much and way too hard, saves all his money, is generally stingy, but kinda social. I know he wants it, but has too focused on work to actually make it happen. This whole comment section makes me think there needs to be a dating site for social awkward people. I would sign up in a heartbeat. I lost my virginity at age 40. I had opportunities, but just didn't realize them at the time. Girls would come flirt with me, but I would just freeze and my mind would go blank. I'm very shy and quiet. I sometimes think I'm autistic, but have never been diagnosed or tried to get diagnosed. I always thought something was wrong with me, and I knew I wasn't normal. I also didn't drink a lot or party. I invited a coworker over to watch a movie one night, and she is also very quiet and shy. I'll let her take the lead and let it happen. That was 2 years ago, and we are engaged now. Some of us are just ugly in both looks and personality. No sob story or long-winded explanation needed. Years of intense social rejection and depression don't help, but they aren't the primary cause. Some people are just inherently unapproachable. Pretty sure I know a 35-year-old virgin. He's creepy. Has the eyes of someone that doesn't see you. He just looks past you in a serial killer kind of way. Also, he only tries to date 18 to 22-year-olds. Combine this with his ultra-conservative religion and Greek family. Add a healthy dose of superiority complex. He asked a buddy to take HLM to the shooting range once. My buddy played it off but then told me when he wasn't around that he didn't want to get Chris Kyled. Since there aren't a lot of serious answers, I still am, the love interest of a 39-year-old virgin. English isn't my native language. Please bear with me. About 10 years ago I joined an online gaming community. It was small, and I became friends with a lot of people there. We met up at different events in real life. Since I was one of very few women there, the obvious thing happened, and 2 guys developed a crush on me. One of them is now my boyfriend of 8 years. The other is the virgin in question. I cut contact about 6 years ago because he made me uncomfortable and insulted my boyfriend several times. But I still check his Twitter from time to time. He claims he still loves me after 6 years without contact. That guy is one of the most socially awkward people I've met. It took him 10 years to get his uni degree. He still lives with his parents in his old bedroom. He's never had a proper job. He does work, but he does freelance work for about 10 hours a week. He's constantly complaining about how stressful his job is. That's a slap in the face for all people that work full time, really. He's also constantly whining about having no friends and no girlfriend. But he talks about women like we're a completely different species. Although he doesn't have a lot of money, he spends it like crazy. He's often spending 1,000 plus euros a month on action figures and video games. But he doesn't even play them. He has shelves full of unopened video games. I'm not kidding. And he doesn't even make that much money. So I guess he's getting a ton of money from his parents. He's completely dependent on everyone else. Every couple of months his computer catches a virus and he has to bring it to the computer repair shop. But since money doesn't seem to be an issue, he doesn't even try to solve the problem on his own. Speaking of money, his parents are old and they have a cleaning lady. First of all, why not let him clean? He lives with them and has nothing to do most of the time. But no, the cleaning lady also cleans his bedroom. Like why? His personal hygiene is awful and he drinks and smokes a lot. He's proud of his greasy hair, etc. He often tweets stuff like I haven't showered in 5 days just to get attention. It's sad, really. He posts unflattering pictures of him constantly and is like, look how ugly I am. Well, he's not attractive. He's smaller than me. I'm slightly above average height for a European woman. Overweight and wears clothes that look like they're from the 80s. Every time I got into a new hobby he did the same to feel connected to me. I got into photography and bought a DSLR. He got one too and never really used it. I went on a diet. He did too. I started making YouTube videos. He bought a cam and made one video too. Actually, with all the expensive action figures he has, he could definitely become successful on it. But he seems to have no drive to actually do things. He even applied to the company I was working for. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. On one event he wore a shirt that said I'm the biggest Pokemon fan on the planet or something along those lines. He was 32 years old at that time and he wore it to impress me. Our community went to a bar later that night and he decided to light his lighter directly in front of my face. He wasn't even wasted or anything. It almost burned my glasses/hair. While he's not dumb, he just doesn't seem to use his brain sometimes. He falls in love with literally every woman that gives him a tiny bit of attention and he doesn't get when people are not interested. He claims that if it wasn't for my boyfriend, we would be together now. Hell no. He asked me out on a date after getting together with my boyfriend. He insults my boyfriend openly on social media. Speaking of social media, he has crushes on a ton of female celebrities and he collects nudes. Apparently he has a huge folder of tons of nudes of different famous people. I don't know if a lot of guys do this, but it's creepy AF, if you ask me. He also had a date with a woman from Twitter once. I don't know what happened, but she blocked him afterwards. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. That guy is just a total train wreck. He's getting help apparently, but he also has a crush on his psychologist. So I highly doubt it's working. This is just the tip of the iceberg, really. There's a ton of really weird things he's done in the past, but that would be way too long to write down. 35 this August. Still a virgin. Haven't even been kissed or on a date. I gave up on relationships and have resigned myself to being alone. I'm 30. Fat. Otherwise unattractive. Poor. And socially awkward. I work for an auto glass company and frequently go entire months without interacting with a woman within 10 years of my age that is not genetically related to me. I fully accepted that I'm going to die a virgin. 42 here. I thought I had a date once. It wasn't. It sort of falls into 3 time periods. Age 17, 25, I asked some girls/women out. They all just plain out said no, except for the one. The last few years of the period, I stupidly started to ask why, and because you was the top answer. Until the one went on in more detail and made me realized what because you meant, and I gave up. I threw myself into my studies, researched anything that interested me, and just read a lot about a lot. Aged 25, 32, I just didn't try. Continued my self-studies. Sure, there were women I would love to ask out. There was even one I did. Quite to my own surprise. Of course she said no and then some, but I was still me, and they would have said no. I had a demanding/abusive job from age 28 to 30 that took everything from me. I joined a gym at 30. Age 32 now. I lost 97 pounds between age 30 and 32. Took up yoga and running. I think I noticed women noticing me, but I had convinced myself women don't find me attractive. So I had to be imagining things. My workout routine has lessened since then, and I have gained back some weight, but thankfully more muscle than fat. I learned in my late 20s that I have a personality type that makes me hard to get to know, which means dating is particularly difficult. It was at this time I thought I was a high-functioning autist. I do have many, but not all, traits of one. I've never been good at social stuff, so I have huge disadvantage in the sociality needed for dating. In the last 5 years or so, I began to wonder if I have social anxiety disorder instead of, or maybe in addition to, autism. And in all this time I've worked overnights, which adds another difficulty in dating. I get the idea that I'm the better than nothing guy, but I don't want to be the last option for someone. I'd rather like a woman who wants to be with me and not has to be with someone. I also don't think it would be fair to burden a woman with my quirks and foibles that I've gotten over the years. Also, the social stigma of being over 40 and never even having a date seems like an obstacle in itself. Impossibly high standards. Christians and Redditors. One of my best friends since grade school is 39 and has never had sex or had a boyfriend. She is from a very religious Christian family, and she still lives with her parents. Although she does work full time, she was always kind of awkward as a teen and put off an asexual vibe. She wasn't ever girly in the usual ways, and she was into martial arts. I wouldn't say she is ugly, but she isn't all that pretty either. Although when I saw her last summer she was wearing makeup, and I thought she looked good. She never talked about boys as a teen. But I spent the night at her house many times, and never got the feeling she was into girls either. That said, lately she has been really down about her situation. Everyone else from her church has gone off and married, and her younger sister has had boyfriends and a normal dating life. It would be very difficult at 39 to find a guy who would be okay with waiting until marriage to have sex. And I know she would be unwilling to do anything before marriage. I feel bad for her. I feel that her religion has failed her. But I wouldn't ever say that to her unless she openly expressed doubts about it to me. She is the sweetest, kindest person I know. I hope she finds what makes her happy, whatever that winds up being. I play Fortnite. It's simple. No one I'm attracted to is mutually attracted to me. I work out, I'm involved in sports, and like to travel. I've met tons of interesting people and made lots of friends. Most people my age are now married, and the ones that are single aren't into me. I started to realize you can enjoy a full life without being in a relationship. But I would love to share my travel trips with someone I'm romantically involved in. I'm 37, so not quite 40, but the thread is kinda dead and people are answering at lower ages. I was born disabled. Mostly affects my legs, I can walk sorta run. Even taught myself how to ride an actual off-the-shelf non-adapted bicycle. A lot of it was just bad luck. Parents split up, changed schools, started getting bullied, home life was a mess. Going to school sucked. Ended up with depression and low self-esteem at a young age, and no clue neither of them were abnormal. Wandered through life for a decade before even realizing depression was a thing, and I might have it by now. I'm a senior in high school and missed lots of opportunities to date. Went to college because my state basically paid for it. If you graduated high school with a pulse and a B average. Depression still existed. Tried to get help, but didn't really understand counseling. Went to several. Most of them weren't helpful. Tried dating a friend once. but there was no spark. Also she was a terrible kisser. Rushed a fraternity that happened to be co-edition. Met some cool people. Still friends with a few of them. Got really good at reading others if I was observing a pair of people interacting. Still not very good at reading people flirting with me. Became pretty close friends with one brother. Completely missed the signs she was into me. We maintained contact for the last 16 years and last spring she said something silly but also flirty to me on Messenger. I asked another friend about it because I wasn't sure what to make of it. She said my old friend was flirting with me. I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I flat out asked, "Yep, she's flirting with me." It blew both our minds. She had wanted me to notice forever and I had honestly never had a clue. She got married 6-7 years ago, but they've had problems since they were dating. They recently filed for divorce. She's moving in with her parents, who live about 25 miles away. I don't know how long it will take us to feel comfortable enough to be intimate with each other, but I don't think being a 40-year-old virgin is possible anymore. Hoping to kiss her by September. Edit. Her ex-husband is a 6'7" cop who is emotionally abusive. Possibly bipolar and they live in the same house. For now she can say we are just friends. I kiss her and that goes out the window. He suspects we are seeing each other. Heck, he even suggested we date last summer. So things are weird. I'd rather wait till she and the little one are safely elsewhere before locking lips. If for some reason I do make it 40, it won't be for lack of a partner, and the way things are going I won't be the only one with blue bits if we have to wait another 19 months. She wants to take me to St. Augustine for my birthday next spring. I asked a month after my birthday this year. That's only 7 months away. Lots of barriers to break down and skin to explore if it happens by then, but as long as we're on that path and further down the road we'll both be happy. Gonna marry her in a couple of years, but we want to enjoy each other for a little bit first and not rush into things. I'm a 32-year-old virgin, female. It just never happened. I only discovered I was asexual when I was already 27 feet. It doesn't mean I don't want to find someone to have a relationship with. I know a person who's 52 and still a virgin. He once ran over his car over a couple of homeless people. He has also killed a black buck, yet he roams freely on the streets. I kept my virginity so that if a volcano ever threatened my small village, I could throw myself into it to save my family and friends. As I live in Canada, it was not really the wisest decision. Ask me again in like 20 years and I can give you an serious answer from a healthy straight non-sexual perspective. Watched the 40-year-old virgin with a guy I liked, and we ended up, well, you know. I told him that at least he's not going to be a 40-year-old virgin. He was not a virgin. He was 24. I just wanted to sleep with him, and he was super okay with that. Not quite 40 yet, 31, but it's trending that way. Confidence is definitely a huge factor. Meeting new people is difficult for me. I've had a few girlfriends but none lasted longer than a month and I didn't feel comfortable making any moves within those short time frames. Incoming seriousness. Pardon me for not using my usual account. I don't really like the idea of people plowing through my post history after sharing something extremely personal. Anyway, yeah, I'm one. I'll be turning 40 in a few months. Never done the dirty deed. Long story short, it's a series of events I guess. I was a bit of an unusual kid, likely suffering from a form of autism, as I was told thanks to therapy sessions and tests much later. Having ginger hair was an added bonus for kids, to constantly pick on me, and sometimes fight me. And with constantly I mean constantly. For years. Even when changing to classes with different kids. It's like I had a sign on my head, please bully me. I could not rely on my parents due to a number of reasons. My dad being a first-class selfish a-hole and my mom having depressions. So I had no choice but to survive both school and home until I was 19. Never had a girlfriend at school. There were ones that were nice to me, but I felt it was likely out of pity, which for me was worse than being bullied. Anyway, this part of my life basically molded me into an introvert, filled to the brim with anxiety issues. I found a job, went living on my own, found a few friends through work, and kept on trucking for many years, pretending that I was okay. I've remained a shy loner through my working years. Met a lot of women due to my line of work, but nothing ever happened with anyone. I figure this is because of the gigantic wall I've built around me over the years, as well as me being a nice guy. I've had female coworkers that really liked me. I even found the courage to ask some out. I learned the meaning of the word friend zone. The older I got, the lonelier I got. Work got harder, since people liked to walk all over me because I simply allowed it. I wanted people to like me. Depressions got worse and worse. I burned out eventually and have been sitting at home 4 years now. I have 4 years of different therapy under my belt. Sometimes it felt like I'd be okay finding myself again through therapy, but time after time real life would weigh down on me and bring me back to step one. I saw less and less of my friends who had girlfriends, got married and so on. A part of it doesn't really mind it much. It kinda hurts seeing other people so happy. Don't get me wrong. I want people to be happy. I just wish some of this happiness would spill on me as well. A few years back something snapped during group therapy. I stopped going and have been sitting inside my homemade castle ever since. Recently I've been forced to at least see a therapist once in a while, which I do. I have a dog and a few family members I sometimes see, but other than that my life's pretty empty. I've sort of accepted that I'll never find someone, nearing 40, currently without a job, without friends, driving a car that nearly falls apart. I'm not really prime estate in the world of singles. Oh well, relationships are not meant for everyone I guess. Technically not a virgin, but I'm almost 42 and in my first serious relationship. I lost my virginity in my mid-20s. Then went almost 2 decades with no sexual contact. For me it was mostly a lack of confidence and self-loathing. I've been obese my entire life and have several disorders and ASD. It made getting close to people very difficult. I'm not one to have meaningless sex either, so I was celibate. I had a bit of a renaissance last year and have lost over 100 pounds. Found my self-worth and confidence and have been in an awesome relationship for the last 10 months. I can't tell you how many times I just wanted to die for feeling unloved or unwanted. The loneliness was overwhelming at times. I don't know how I made it so long. Since I haven't seen a lot of upvoted answers for this, asexuality, I'm 17 years short of 40, but I want to get there without sex. And ideally die without sex. Still want love and romance though. Makes things difficult. I will be a 40-year-old virgin. I'm just not good at meeting people, and I don't like going to clubs, bars, etc. Everyone on this thread, I have a coworker actually who is. Sounds a lot like the I'm asking for a friend line we hear a lot. Apart from asexuals, I doubt you'll get that many serious answers. When you hit 50, you evolve to become a non-corporeal being. I'm gonna guess the real story is they just didn't have sex. I was deathly afraid of getting pregnant and ruining my life as a teen. Then at college sort of the same. And then dated a religious guy for many years. That ended badly and it took me a long time to get over it. Then a string of guys who I just wasn't into. And sex isn't something I want, just to get it over with. Then I went back to school and focused on that and my new career and suddenly I'm 40 and never officially lost it. Got to 33. Almost 34 before I got married. Went on numerous dates. Even had a girlfriend for several years, but our beliefs don't permit sex prior to marriage. So never had it, though got fairly close a couple times. I'm not childish. My personality isn't critically flawed. I bought into the nice guy ideas and the several year long relationship was with someone who has borderline personality disorder and was very abusive. Needless to say, she broke me of the nice guy crap and being anyone other than myself, which lent an authenticity that actually allowed me to find dates with quality women. All that being said, thankfully I did wait for sex instead of leaping at the first opportunity or the red light district, as did my wife. She was 35 when we got married. Also a virgin. Never had a boyfriend. Never was even kissed. She spent a number of years overseas as a missionary teacher while I was in the army. Went on a couple dates in the army, but no real relationships and no sex. So she never really met anyone. When she came back she went on a few dates. But the guys were mostly creeps looking for a lay or an ego massage. Eventually we met on an online dating site. Kicked it off slowly at first in April of 2014 and were engaged before Christmas. At that point we both knew what we were looking for in a partner and didn't feel like spending a year plus dating plus a long engagement. And for those that think we were crazy for not having sex before the marriage or trying out others, edit, seriously, autocorrect, trying pigs others, it was worth it. It was so worth it. We had something special. Physically and emotionally and spiritually special to just the two of us, the deepest intimacy a couple can share. I hated waiting, but I wouldn't trade it away. Not me, but a coworker. Dude is 45 and has never been laid because he has obscenely high standards. But this leads to social anxiety to the point where he won't even approach a woman he's interested in. He has no problem talking with girls who are clearly solid 8s, but because they don't meet his standards he won't make a move. I've seen girls that are out of my league throwing themselves at him, and he'll do nothing. He's charismatic and looks decent, but he just really sucks with women. It, further increasing the virgin equals loser stereotype, and people absolutely dumbfounded by the idea that some people don't think highly of having sex or are asexual. I wonder what percent of 40+ male virgins are priests. 30-something F still holding her V card. I'm not religious. I'm not socially awkward or a recluse. I'm a confident person and Evanson's Macup. Do not resemble a swamp monster. Went to a Catholic all-girls school, but I'm not Catholic now. I was never taught sex was wrong, or told to wait until marriage. There was a lot of slut shaming at my school on Monday mornings. If you even did so much as walk down the street at a party with a guy. Once I danced with a bunch of different guys. They asked. I was polite at one of the local boys' school's annual dances and went back to school a few days later to find out I was the town bike. Good times. So after that, I went out of my way to avoid all that jealous teen girl drama. From high school to college, I was really busy with sports/work and other things, so not having a serious boyfriend made things easier. I did date. I did make out with guys. I just didn't keep anyone around for long. And I'm not a one-night stand kind of girl, or going to just sleep with a guy after he buys me a slice and a drink. There's a bunch of other crap I can write about my teen and early 20s, but I'm not damaged or emotionally scared by it, so I'll skip over all that. Out of college, I was really busy. I traveled and really worked hard to try and make it in my industry. During this time, in the back of my mind, I was always terrified of getting pregnant or getting stuck somewhere because of a guy. I never wanted to be married till I was old and in my 30s. To me, marriage always equaled your life was over and there was so much I wanted to do. Anyway, I still dated, went to bars, flirted and all that stuff. Just no hooking up. I still do all that. But a while ago, it got to the point where I realized I had no sexual experience, and even if I did meet a guy I wanted to date more than a handful of times, I really didn't want to have a conversation with him and disclose all that, because that would make me seriously vulnerable. I'd lose the perfect image I have going. He could end up being a jerk and tell everyone, or we could sleep together. I could suck at the whole sex thing, and he'd disappear. Having to explain to someone you've only had sex once, so you're probably terrible at it, sounds even worse than having to admit you're still waving around that previously mentioned V card, which is still where I'm now. On the outside I'm a fairly successful, confident smartass, and without sounding like a jerk, I'm above average looking. So to have to fess up to some guy who has probably seen and done everything is way more of a gamble than I'm willing to take. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can watch together.